Welcome everybody, welcome citizens, representatives of organizations and participants in general. Also welcome to the media. Thank you for coming here on this beautiful day that we're going to hold a press conference. And I will introduce, let all of the speakers of today introduce themselves, because we are here in light of a broad coalition, and we will be sharing why we will protest at the coming day on 25th of June here also in The Hague in light of the NATO. All right, so I want to start here. My name is Josephine. I'm an activist for Extinction Rebellion, and I will moderate this day, this press conference. Can I ask you to start, and then we'll follow up in line. All right? Can I ask you to introduce yourself, the organization or movement that you're part of, and also your statement?
Good afternoon. My name is Rosema van het Einde, and I'm speaking on behalf of Extinction Rebellion, the Netherlands. When it comes to protecting life on Earth, we cannot be present enough. When it comes to addressing racism, we cannot be loud enough. When it comes to protecting the world from climate catastrophe, we cannot be careful enough. The maintenance of fossil subsidies, the political support for Israel's genocide on the Palestinians, and the eager increase in NATO budgets make one thing clear. As long as people in the global south are victimized, as long as big companies profit, and as long as the world is made uninhabitable, troughs of public money and political support are widely available. We must stand up against this fossil culture of death. We are happy to join our partners in the fight against destruction of all we hold dear. That is why next Wednesday, we will call the government to account before the eyes of the world, and we will peacefully block the A12 until our three demands are met. Stop genocide, stop racism and fascism, and stop fossil destruction. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The next speaker will be
Dressed to kill. Fast fashion rears its ugly head. Fast fashion is a fossil industry built on exploitation and excess, rooted in capitalist and colonialist practices. Fashion brands exploit and abuse people and their environment, enforcing racist and colonial power dynamics. Part of the fast fashion textiles can be traced back to Uyghur concentration camps in China. Mass detention and surveillance, forced labor and forced assimilation aimed at erasing the Uyghur culture and identity. This is genocide. Inditex brand Zara's campaign, The Jacket's Stain, featured supermodels who, amidst the rubble, carry on their shoulders corses wrapped in white cloths. Murdered Palestinians wrapped in white and bloody cloths, symbol of the horrific crimes committed in Palestine, genocide. Fast fashion accelerates the climate crisis through overproduction and overconsumption, massive waste, polluting land, water and air. Fast fashion kills. I am enraged about the empty promises and lies, desperate about the future, and deeply sad about everything that has already been murdered, eradicated, became extinct, vanished forever. I am Klaaske, activist for life, and today speaking on behalf of Just Stop Fast Fashion.
All right, thank you so much. The next speaker will be
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here. My name is Wouter Mouton. I'm here on behalf of Extinction Rebellion Belgium to show our support and respect to the people of the Netherlands. The momentum is definitely here for the Palestinian genocide, but I really want to talk about the climate crisis. If we as humans want to keep going, we'll have to do a better job in protecting insects, oceans, ozone, etc. According to science, according to the World Climate Clock, we will reach the critical 1.5 degree limit in just over 4 years. That's 1,492 days. It's a very realistic doomsday clock, and it's ticking really loud. That's the bad news. The good news is we know the problem, and we also know the solution. Less fossil fuels, more social laws based on nature and people, and not on economical growth. The way to get it is asking, it's pushing, it's taking risks as vulnerable men and women. We stand up for climate victims, for our kids, for plants and animals. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And the next speaker.
Salam everyone. I'm speaking on behalf of XR Muslims, as well as I myself am also a member of XR Rotterdam specifically. I'd like to say that I'm a very hopeful person, and I have a picture of the future that I am working towards. The genocide has ended. The Palestinians have continued their well-earned reputation as the kindest people on the planet. The supporters of the ethno-state have only their guilt, their shame, and are ostracized, removed from society. The destruction of the environment is being reversed, and the need of military alliances that attack the oppressed people of the world is gone. In short, a kinder world. That is what gives me rest at night, and that's what makes me want to wake up in the morning. That picture and that stripe. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up.
Hello world, my name is Chatalea Tranamil Mapuche Puenche from Indigenous Liberation Movement. As we gather here for the NATO conference in the Netherlands in June 2025, I cannot help but reflect on the implication of the NATO 12 Defense Critical Raw Materials list. This list reminds me of 12 of October 1492, a day that marks the beginning of an era defined by colonization and exploitation. At COP16, nation-states proclaimed to make peace with nature. Yet the release of the NATO defense list reveals an alarming contradiction. You cannot claim to uphold the values of democracy and security while engaging in acts of colonization. The resources you seek are not in your territories. Our sovereignty is not negotiable. We as indigenous people, we cover 32 of the world's lands. We protect 22 of the world's key biodiversity areas. Over 55 of the critical raw materials crucial for your military defense agenda are on indigenous territories. There is no justification for invading indigenous territories or breaching international law in the name of your national interest or for the sake of NATO collective defense. You want aluminium? Well, indigenous people from the global south removed a multinational to avoid exploitation of bauxite within a couple of days. Current African leadership removed France from Mali based on stipulation within international law. The NATO 12 Defense Critical Raw Material list cannot be executed without free, prior and informed consent. We have taken our demand to recognition of our rights into the courts, winning crucial legal victories and historical ruling in different continents. We as indigenous people from the global south demand the establishment of an independent indigenous review of environmental and social assessments through a memorandum of understanding in every NATO Act, treaty or principle. Indigenous Liberation Movement informed stakeholders, this ING Bank already, in their stakeholders meeting. We continue with our advocacy to other stakeholders. I urge all to learn the tools of the master to defend real security and to stand next to Indigenous people. Might you all!
All right, next up.
My name is Niels Brinkman and I speak on behalf of BDS in the Netherlands. BDS in the Netherlands calls on all NATO member states to immediately impose a full weapons embargo on Israel. The ongoing genocide in Gaza has resulted in the deaths of tens, likely hundreds of thousands of civilians, including children, and the destruction of critical infrastructure. This is not self-defense. This is the systematic annihilation of a people. Israel's actions, including the deliberate targeting of hospitals, schools and refugee camps, violate international law and fuel regional instability through continued aggression against neighboring countries. NATO members cannot continue to supply arms that are used to commit atrocities. An embargo is not a political choice. It is a legal and moral obligation in the context of the genocide and of the illegal occupation and apartheid as affirmed by the International Court of Justice. If NATO truly stands for democratic values like human rights and the rule of law, its members must act now. Stop arming apartheid. Stop enabling war crimes. Impose a full weapons embargo on Israel without delay.
All right, the next speaker will be.
Hello, I am Rahma from Meld Islamophobie, Report Islamophobia. Zionism was born as a child of European empire, a settler colonial project justified by racial supremacy and today Islamophobia, backed by Western capital and firepower. Today its front line is Gaza. Israel controls electricity, water and life itself in Gaza, then cuts it off to sow death, brutally executing starving people while they seek flour to feed their families. While Israel starts wars of distraction across the region. But NATO stands silent because Israel is a pillar of empire. What Nixon's general once called an American aircraft carrier in the oil-rich Middle East. Fossil empire always coincided with landscapes of so-called terror. The figure of the Muslim as terrorist, stripped of humanity and made expendable to facilitate the westward flow of cheap oil. And now to justify the repression of pro-Palestine solidarity at home. From Gaza to Syria, Yemen to Iraq, NATO states have fueled destruction to defend fossil profits. European and US arms protect Israeli gas rigs and Gulf oil. Ecocide is fused with genocide. The struggle for Palestinian liberation is central to challenging imperial interests across the region. Understanding Palestine means understanding fossil capitalism and the fight for climate justice. Report Islamophobia is participating in blocking the highway because there can be no business as usual anymore when all efforts to open roads to Gaza to bring relief are blocked, while complicit war criminals pass here freely. Stop arming the genocide in Gaza, end the fossil fuel empire, end the global racial hierarchies that NATO is here to affirm. Free Palestine.
Thank you. All right, can I give you the mic for next contribution?
Good afternoon. My name is Joke Caviar. I'm a poet. And I'm calling all poets, writers, artists, musicians, to use their art to call for action and to speak up loudly. This first poem is in solidarity with struggles against oil pipelines worldwide. It's called Pipeline. Something is running through the pipes. They say it will make you thrive. The soil shivers. The river does not sing, but shrieks. Now who wants to dance to the tune that sticks like a white man's prophet? The water shimmers like black varnish as the riches flow over the grass. A father weeps over land lost. A mother rises up. Live, children, you will not win if you sit still. Stand up, you buffaloes and bellowing wind. Begin the battle against the pipes. Stop EACOP, stop the East African crude oil pipeline, and stop Total Energies. Militarism and border control are two sides of the same coin. Those who profit from warfare by arms production and trade also profit from keeping out refugees from war, climate disaster and repression, by also producing equipment for border militarization. These companies have names, offices and factories. In the Netherlands they are Damen, Airbus and Thales. And Thales is also complicit in the genocide on Palestinians. Let's hold them accountable and stop their business. This one is called Beat the Borders. Who is telling us where to go and where to stay and who says no? To questions asked, permits applied for. Who declares the immigrants' war? Who is standing in our way and who is law and who gets paid for stamps to give? Entrance denied to those that try to make it up here. Who makes money and has to pay? And who makes money and has a say, and who gets locked up has to pay for being here or being there, and either way nowhere is safe. So who's responsible? Who is rich and who is pulling strings, and which politicians do not lie or cry them crocodile tears when you die? All they ever do is take, turning people into slaves, turning slavery into profit, turning profit into poverty for you and me. There is no reason to obey, living lives that lead to the graves. Let's be standing in the way, make a difference, and start today. Let's take no orders, let's beat the borders, let's cross the lines, let's ignore the signs. Let's take no orders, let's take their riches, let's beat the borders, and stop their business, and block the A12.
Thank you so much. All right, next up.
Good afternoon, I'm DJ, he, him, speaking on behalf of Odorats. The rats of Odorats turn the tables on the fast fashion industry and let them smell the real stink of fast fashion. The fast fashion industry is destroying our earth, pumping the atmosphere full of greenhouse gases, wasting hundreds of trillions of liters of water, flooding the ocean with microplastics and exposing living beings to thousands of harmful chemicals. Stop this destruction. This deeply racist industry, where the people in the global south get exploited so that we in the west can be made addicted to cheap clothing, has to stop. And the people making our clothes get, as we say in Dutch, stank for dank. After wearing these clothes 0 or more times, we dump them again, flooding the global south with waste, killing the people, destroying biodiversity. We lab rats stand together with our fellow humans in the fight against the same evil roots that sprouted fast fashion. The fight against racism, against fascism, against colonialism, against capitalism, against fossil destruction, against genocide. Free Palestine, free Congo, free Sudan, free Papua, free Yemen.
Hello, and thank you all for coming today. My name is Rosema. My pronouns are she, they, or in Dutch, zij, hen. and I'm an independent columnist and activist, currently mainly involved in transgender rights, and I'm speaking in a personal capacity. At the NATO summit, countries will try to express unity, solidarity with one another. But if we, as the people, truly want to stand for solidarity between all people, then we need to fight the biggest and fastest growing power that's trying to destroy that from within, and that is modern fascism. Because we are far past the point of modern fascists rising to power. They are in power. Countries like the US and Hungary show us how quickly civil rights can be erased under fascist reign. And many other countries, including the Netherlands, are eagerly following their examples by elevating far-right politicians with the exact same ideology into power and systematically attacking the rights of the most marginalized groups. So many ideas and policies that just a few years ago we all would have called destructive, immoral, unthinkable, have now become essentially ubiquitous. And it's already literally costing lives, by far most severely in the global south, but also already in the global north, globally. With marginalized groups like people of color, refugees, women, religious groups like Muslims, people with disabilities, and LGBTQIA+ people being the first and worst affected. If we want to stop the fascist seizure of power before we tumble into an even deeper and much darker abyss, then we need to take mass action right now. All together as people and as groups in solidarity against the powers that are trying to divide all of us and erase many of us. That is why I'm expressing my support for this action. That is why I will be there. Because the time about which people will ask why more people didn't try to do something is now. Never again is now. Thank you.
Thank you. A couple of more speakers and organizations and movements. Next up.
Thanks very much indeed. My name is Harun Raza. I'm a criminal defense attorney in Rotterdam for the past 22 years, and I'm also an activist regarding Palestine and human rights. We are gathered here today because we refuse to be silent in the face of genocide. What Israel is doing in Gaza is not a conflict. It is a systematic eradication of a people, backed by Western complicity, NATO silence, and fossil-fueled imperialism. Millions of Palestinians are being sacrificed, in fact slaughtered, for geopolitical gain. Racism and fascism go hand in hand with this violence. We see it in every government that dehumanizes the Palestinian people, justifies apartheid, and criminalizes solidarity. We demand an end to the genocide in Gaza. We demand an end to racist and fascist systems from Palestine to The Hague. And we demand an end to the fossil economy that drives war, displacement, and destruction globally. Another world is not only possible, it is necessary. And it begins with truth and resistance. Free Palestine, viva the Intifada. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up.
Hi, my name is Olax. I've been asked to represent anti-fascist, anti-fast fashion. Fast fashion is the fourth largest fossil industry, but its crimes don't stop at ecocide. It's built upon colonialism, exploitation, slavery, child labor, and at least 2 genocides. It's estimated that 20% of all textiles in the world can be traced back to Uyghur concentration camps in China. China has been committing a genocide on the Uyghur people for at least 11 years now. All of NATO's members are trading partners of China. For all but 5, China is among the top 10 largest trading partners. Shein and Temu ship their genocide merchandise to all corners of the world, welcomed by NATO member governments. Inditex has publicly supported the Palestinian genocide, financially, politically, and allegedly even with direct weapons supplies. Inditex ships their genocide merchandise to all corners of the world, welcomed by NATO member governments. The rise of fast fashion has led to a horrible new status quo. For the common citizen, it's become impossible to buy a single piece of clothing without contributing to ecocide and genocide. Fast fashion has become one of the worst tumors ever sprouted from the cancer we call capitalism. That's why anti-fascist, anti-fast fashion fully endorses the demands of the A12 Blokkade team. We need to stop genocide if we want to live. We need to stop fascism and racism if we want to live. We need to stop fossil destruction if we want to live. NATO members are in a position to stop all of this, yet continue to choose destruction over survival, profit over people, and fascism over peace and justice. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Chihiro and I'm speaking today on behalf of Stichting Arales. NATO militarism is a direct threat to humanity and stimulates mass extinction. The 2% NATO norm of spending more on warfare is already frying the planet with increased unregulated emissions and other catastrophic pollution. But before they fry us, many already die. Because bombs don't bring security. They scorch earth. Because governments' investment in militarism have already meant cuts in healthcare and other essential sectors. Because NATO was founded by colonial powers and fascist ruler and welcomed Nazis into the ranks, we cannot afford to be naive about the true face of NATO that brings death and destruction and wet dreams of full-spectrum domination. The USA is bankrupt. With an illegal debt of $36 trillion, the last resort to rule is through military force. Over the past 75 years, the US contributed $21.9 trillion to the NATO's defense budget, according to its yearly defense expenditure of NATO countries report. That is $9,259 per second. They invested in death and destruction and failed to pay their historic climate debt. Last week we saw over 5 million demonstrators in the streets in the US in more than 2,000 cities protesting against militarism, fascism, Trumpism. If you're not angry, you're not paying attention. There is an intifada, an uprising, a shaking off of colonial imperial powers worldwide. You are welcome to join. To survive as a species, a rallying cry must be abolish NATO. All military budget must be redirected to pay off the 400 trillion climate debt, environmental climate debt to the global south, to reorient towards multi-species justice, rehabilitate colonized lands, restore indigenous-led cultures and land restoration, and build decolonial peace economies. I am Chihiro Geusebroek, and on behalf of Stichting Arales, I work to advance decolonization. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Frank van der Linden. I'm from the Palestine Steunfonds, Palestine Support Fund. We support activists who face repression from the Dutch government, and it's totally insane that next week there are a lot of war criminals and climate criminals here in The Hague, and they don't have anything to worry. They can just walk freely here. They committed so many crimes and there is no risk. But next week, activists who dare to be a little bit in The Hague have to face severe consequences from the police, from the criminal investigation department, from the Secret Service. And this is insane. Let's go after the real criminals, which will be gathering here next week. So it's very easy to pick them up all together, to arrest them all together. So I've nothing so much to add to what was already said, only the following things. Fuck Israel, fuck the US, fuck the Dutch government, and especially fuck the police.
I am Professor Tjerk Oosterkamp, speaking on behalf of Scientist Rebellion, and I'm joining the demonstration on Wednesday together with fellow musicians of Blokbrass. Our government fails miserably in stimulating renewable energy and getting rid of fossil subsidies, despite its promise about that in 2009. My physics colleagues and I are very worried. We know the mathematics behind the complex systems that describe climate and weather. We have known for decades what is coming at us. Heat waves, droughts, storms, sea level rise, catastrophic economic downturns, and societal instability. Misinformation by fossil fuel companies and intimidation of peaceful protests slow down the energy transition and climate adaptation. They don't slow down the laws of physics. In the Netherlands alone, 40 billion euro per year is handed out to large corporations to stimulate the use of fossil fuels rather than to stimulate the energy transition. 40 billion. 1 billion would be 50 euros per person in the Netherlands. 40 billion is a lot of money. Every year, not just in the Netherlands, but in many places, a large chunk of the taxes we pay is given to oligarchs and fossil industries. We demand from our government to finally take science seriously and stop fossil subsidies, use our 2,000 euros per month, per year wisely, and everyone else's too. Finally, I urge the Mayor of The Hague to show the world how democracy can grow stronger by facilitating peaceful protest rather than hurting democracy by discrediting peaceful protests. Thank you.
My name is Fatima. I'm a member of the City Council for the Haagse Stadspartij, the Hague City Party. I'm standing at the A12 today because I refuse to look away. While world leaders gathered in The Hague, the city of peace and justice, to talk about security within the NATO framework, billions are being spent on weapons while people around the world suffer from poverty, climate collapse and racism. What does security mean when your home is destroyed by climate change? When you cannot afford to feed your children? When your identity or gender determines whether you survive? Climate justice is about far more than CO2. It's about life, dignity and the future. Military systems uphold global oppression, from the erasure of native people to bombs to destroy ecosystem and further destabilize our climate. The occupation of the A12 by XR is not a disruption, but a necessary wake-up call when politics continues to fail on climate resistance becomes the moral compass that remind us of our responsibility to current and future generations. I stand in solidarity with everyone fighting for a livable world, not just for themselves, but for all of us and our children. Because when politics fails, the voice of justice must rise, loud, visible, and impossible to ignore. From the river to the sea, Palestine will always be free.
My name is Peter on behalf of Kappen met Kolen. I would like to take this opportunity to ask for a minute's silence for all current and future victims of genocide, ecocide, extractivism, colonialism, racism and fascism, especially those in Africa, Asia and South America. Thank you.
All right, thank you to all of the speakers and for the organizations and movements that are part of the A12 blockade next week. I want to thank everybody here that has been listening, and I also want to provide the opportunity to ask questions if there are any. From the audience or maybe from the press, are there some questions that need to be addressed? Feel free to raise your hand or come up to me to ask your questions. A last announcement for the A12 blockade. Here we go.
Yes. For the past A12 blockades, I have led a Dhuhr prayer, and on occasions when it was very cold and very late in the year, also an Asr prayer. I am planning to do that once again. However, if there are, of course, Muslims willing to join who know more of the Quran, then please lead us all, and hopefully let us get our peace. Thank you.
All right, thank you everybody. Can I get a round of applause for our speakers? And can I invite everybody to come in front of the tables to introduce yourself to each other, to have some introductions and maybe also some private or personal questions from the press. All right, thank you all so much.